This is the big goodbye, and the first point is already lost, since this is reused footage from the pilot episode. Welcome to the Star Trek Critic. Each episode starts with 100 points, and we are already at 99. In this episode, the holodeck attacks the crew.
Yes!
According to the star date, this takes place after Tasha died, so minus 1 point. The Harada are never seen, but it's really easy to piss them off in their own language. Why is Picard watching the Lorax? Minus 1 point for a cleavage shot. Minus 1 point for not learning to say the phrase phonetically. It worked for ABBA for years. Deanna suggests relaxing in the holodeck. Minus 1 point for Picard giving a time and place for the holodeck, since he just needs to have the Dixon Hill file booted up. Picard says 1941 AD, which means sometime in the future, woke liberals with their current era nonsense will be gone. A reminder that the future is a better place. This is Madeline.
Aww.
This is Jessica with the nice legs, but how does holographic smoke work? Minus 1 point for not knowing what Halloween is. If you can have Christmas and Captain Picard Day, you can have Halloween. Minus 1 point for another captain's log talking down to the audience. He also did one right before he went into the holodeck. He says they feel real. Just what has he been doing on the holodeck? They seem real in every way. You know, he really shouldn't be recording this on a captain's log. Now he's asking her how much he charges, and it's $20 for the whole day? Is she an escort? She hasn't said yes yet. Yes to what? I see. She says wear a suit. She's an escort that expects her clients to be well dressed. That's what's going on here. These blinds are plastic, but these blinds are wood, so minus 1 point. Also, this street is supposed to have cable car tracks, so minus 1 point. Look closely. The exit is in his office. And the holograms continue to operate even after you left, so remember to turn them off, because that's what the doctor ordered. Minus 1 point for holographic lipstick still on his face. She's like, what was he doing in the holodeck? I got some rumors to spread now. Minus 1 point for Captain Picard not knowing what a city block is. They will have them in 300 years, trust me. Worf's like, what are automobiles? So Data mansplains to Worf what a car is. Wesley is not a member of the senior staff. He is just in there to hear about teenage mating rituals, so minus 1 point. Is Picard asking Dr. Crusher out on a date? And she said yes. But Picard really knows how to spoil the mood by inviting another guy to go with him. No wonder he's single. Dr. Crusher looks real excited now. 400 years in the future, they still use tapes. Look closely, the extra in the background looks at the camera. It turns out only Data likes watching graphic captain mutilation videos. Data also wants to learn more about Dixon Hill, which was first published in Amazing Detective Stories 1934 AD. Minus 1 point for another captain's log. Data wants to go along with Wayland and Captain Picard. Dr. Crusher's just gonna love this date, isn't she? Minus 1 point for the program not picking up where Picard left off, since he did save it. So will the program remember that Picard owes the newspaperman a dime? The purpose of this scene is for Data to tell Picard how much he knows about sports. And it's always questionable on how detailed the holodeck can get. Is it possible to make a holographic newspaper? I'm going to say no, so minus 1 point. Is this foreshadowing the future TV show Deep Space Nine, featuring a guest appearance of Buck Bokai? And here's where you learn that Data, sometimes known as Carlos, is from South America. Mrs. Bradley has been murdered. Wayland says, she's just a page from a book, don't worry about it. He's not really into holonovels, is he? This is the first hell in the show. Leave comments below on if I should have videos of every time somebody says hell in Star Trek. Massive amount of 20th century slang. I'll bet they loved making this episode. The Harada broke their own protocol by probing the Enterprise from long distance, and minus 1 point for Riker not being in the captain's chair. Minus 1 point for nobody on the holodeck feeling the ship shake. Riker says that's not part of the plan. He could have used that against the Harada, but he didn't, so minus 1 point. In reality, the Harada just aren't worth the trouble. Geordi says the first I. Shout out to Gates McFadden demonstrating the difficulties of women's clothing. However, minus 1 point here, the panel Wesley uses in a later scene is already open, and minus 1 point for Dr. Crusher not letting the bridge know that there is something wrong with the holodeck door. Minus 1 point for Data using contractions. Poor Dr. Crusher, trying so hard to look like the women of the time period, but it turns out this one's a hooker. This scene is not sexist though, it shows what women can actually go through. Picard is getting interrogated and all he's thinking is, Wow, the graphics are really good in here, aren't they? They have lost contact with the captain, -1 point for not asking the ship's computer to locate him. Tasha is in command of the Enterprise.
Yes!
Wesley is correct in asking to help out with a holodeck. In reality, Wesley's skills are better for engineering and not the bridge. Did you ever notice when Riker is in charge of the bridge, Deanna Troi is always there and reminds him about something? Poor Dr. Crusher just wants to goof around with makeup, but has to deal with holographic creepers. She is politely thinking about deleting his program once she gets off the holodeck. And this is the I just swallowed my gum look. We've all been there. -1 point for a single set of doors on the Kerber lift and not even a cut in the carpet. -1 point for not trying to beam them out. -1 point for not trying the security override on the door. -1 point for not cutting power to the holodeck. Smoking is not allowed on board starships. Does that mean the crew would sneak off to the holodeck for holographic smoke? Picard refers to the Enterprise as she. Is that sexist now? Looks like this will be the start of a beautiful friendship.
Aww.
Beverly says, "Can we go to your office and play doctor?" Jean-Luc says, "Yes, come over to my clubhouse in the backyard and I'll play detective." Now the other kids want to go to the clubhouse too. You can see the look of excitement in their faces as they all go to the clubhouse together, and Jean-Luc is learning the hard way why you never tell your friends where you are in your off time. They never really say how big a holograph is. My guess is about the size of a high school gym. Felix Leach holds them all at gunpoint. They are really getting into it, aren't they? But -1 point, a holographic bullet could not penetrate the skin. They all clap while he's bleeding to death. How thoughtful. They try to find the exit, but not once try contacting the bridge or engineering, so -1 point. Data says there is a programming malfunction.
Very astute.
When all else fails, pose like Peter Pan. Tasha's in the first officer chair this time. And -1 point here because Riker should be sitting in the captain's chair, and Tasha should have stayed there. -1 point here, a holographic lamp would not need a holographic power cord to stay lit. And -1 more point because Data knows what a power cord is. -1 point for Cyrus Redblock introducing himself, since he's already had dealings with Dixon Hill. Cyrus Redblock does have manners. He's still a criminal though. The police officer decided to join the fun. The holographic characters would not be programmed to notice Data looks a little different, so -1 point. Data gives Cyrus Redblock the stink eye. Cyrus Redblock wants the item, but Data says it is stuck somewhere. Picard tries to buy time by being honest, but sounding stupid at the same time. Data stalls for time by adding Data humor, but I don't think Captain Picard is interested either. Data is going to get himself shot if he doesn't stop talking. Cyrus Redblock says senseless killing is immoral, but then he says, kill the woman, so -1 point. He wouldn't say that. Wait, Picard says kill the woman too? Crusher's thinking, we're gonna have a little talk about this later. Shout out to the makeup crew. Weyland does look deathly pale. -1 point for Riker demanding anything from the Haradans. He should know that's not gonna work at all. Geordi now thinks he's Riker. There is no way the holodeck will make the people vanish, so -1 point. Cyrus Redblock now tells everyone what computers are for. Look closely, the jacket on Weyland moves, so -1 point. Wesley saves the day again. Picard and Cyrus Redblock decide to speak dirty to each other in French. Cyrus Redblock and Leach would have disappeared right when they left the holodeck, so -1 point. And there he goes. -1 point for Picard spending 4 minutes talking to a hologram. He's been missing and is supposed to be on the bridge. Picard returns to the bridge while Beverly has Wesley delete the creepy cop program from the system. I would love to let the whole greeting go here, but with my luck, it would get me a copyright claim. The Haradans are happy and are never heard from or seen again. Data must have some type of programming to be entertaining. Geordi says, I number 2. The last point is lost because Lieutenant Worf only has 2 lines in the show. And it would be nice if their uniforms went back to a 1940s style instead of them looking like a giant crayon commercial. Who were the holograms? Rhonda Aldrich was Madeline and will be back soon. Carolyn Allport was Jessica. Dick Miller was the newspaper salesman with 185 screen credits, including the pilot of Walter, Gremlins, and he will be back in Deep Space Nine. Mike Genovese was the desk sergeant. He has 110 screen credits, including Quantum Leap and Babylon 5, and he will be back on Deep Space Nine. Gary Armagnac was in TJ Hooker, and David Selberg will be in one more TNG episode, as well as Voyager and Enterprise. William Boyett was Lieutenant Bell, has over 200 screen credits including Get Smart, My Three Sons, and Forbidden Planet. Harvey Jason was Felix Leach with 100 screen credits. He was on Wonder Woman, Alien Nation, and The Lost World. Lawrence Tierney was Cyrus Redblock with 100 screen credits as the tough guy, including Dillinger, The Greatest Show on Earth, and he will be back on Deep Space Nine. The Big Goodbye, the first episode that stars the holodeck, gets a score of 59. Thanks for viewing. Please be sure to leave comments below, click that like button, the share button, the subscribe button. Check out my other videos and playlists, and I will see you again real soon.